When a child is stressed, they absolutely cannot learn. So when a child is stressed and we stuff information into them, they are going to reject, and that rejection will come in the form of behaviors. Then we say, why are you behaving like this? And when we have consequence for that, but they're not ready to accept the content. There's something else happening. So that understanding and connecting with that child at that level, at that frequency of where they are, is so important for learning. And, we always teach what to learn, but we have not been taught how to learn or how our brain works.
Hey everyone, this is Kim O'Neill from the Everyday is a New Day podcast and live show, and you're listening to the Going North podcast with the hilarious Dom Brightman. Be sure to subscribe to his show so you don't miss any episodes, and remember, every day is always a new day.
Today's episode is sponsored by both books, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, and the follow-up bestseller, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Head over to Amazon.com, pick up both books. They are available in a trifecta of paperback, audio, and ebook. Cop all three of both and be on the lookout for another book from yours truly to help podcasters succeed. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. We got another super special, awesome human for you today. That's right, indeed. It's the era of returning guests, except this one's a special case because their first appearance was on a panel, so she had to share some of the limelight. But today, she's back solo dolo the way we love it because she is full of energy and wisdom and knowledge to share. Let me tell you a bit about her because she is a best-selling author, folks, who is a parent, a teacher, as well as a math interventionist, as well as a holistic and NLP success coach for the kids and the grown-ups. Let's give it up for the K and the S, the kind and stupendous, the one and only Kohila Sivas. How you doing today, Kohila?
Very, very good. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Woo! The pleasure goes both ways. It's like, yay, when you asked me back on the show, I'm like, yes, that's right indeed. It's like, I enjoyed freaking you from the panel. I'm like, yeah, she's got the great bright smile. She's helping out the kids and the teachers, and she's on a positive mission to help out to positively influence the world. I'm like, yeah, she's back and better than ever, because I heard you published a book since we last had you on the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that book was out, and then I had another book that I wrote about escaping the tutoring trap, which is out on Amazon. And then after that, I'm writing another book for parents and teachers as well, which is coming out this year. So always busy doing something, right? Sharing knowledge is important.
Definitely say that again, indeed. Definitely say that again, indeed. So, my goodness, how do you find time for all of this being a parent, a spouse, and a coach of all things? It's like, do you have like 25 hours in a day you're just not telling anybody?
Or you just learn to manage it really well, right? This year, my goal is to work only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and have rest of the days off. This is a big goal for 2023, and I think it's almost doable. So I don't have 25 hours. I just learned to manage it better. That's all.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess the FBI knows we're safe then. So they're like, okay, good. She doesn't have a secret time machine. That's good. All right. She checks out. We're good. All right. We'll go to the next podcast interview, see if someone knows the secrets that we don't know about.
But I can tell you one thing, though. I do have a weird schedule that I sleep and wake up. I wake up really early at 3 or sometime 4 a.m. And from that to 8 o'clock, I get a lot of work done. Like, you probably already heard about flow state, right? That is my flow state. And then by 3 p.m. or 2 p.m., I have a nap. So I kind of separate my day into 2 days because I'm napping in the middle of the day. So that gives me a lot of energy. It's not for everybody, but if you want to try it, it actually really works. You can get lots done.
There you go. All right. So I guess that makes you a morning person.
Really,
That's
really
right.
important.
There you go. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. It's great to have that set up indeed, because a lot of grown-ups are like, man, I wish I could have nap time. And I'm kind of mad at myself as a kid. Didn't want it. Now I'm grown up. I'm like, oh, give it back. And it's
It's
like,
all about
hey,
listening to your body, right? It's listening to your body. It's so important. The rhythm, we all have it differently. So however it fits, and if it's possible, take your nap.
there you go. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because that way the flow state will stay in flow. That's right. The proper moments of the day. That's right indeed. Taking care of that body indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, my goodness. So staying busy at work, and now I got that big goal of basically having the middle of the week, the middle 3 days a week, to be the whole meat of the week, and then leading the other two slices being the wonderful days of doing whatever keeps you happy and fulfilled. So my goodness, my goodness. So like what else has changed since the last time we had you on the podcast as well? Because you got this wonderful coaching program for the kids. Actually, better yet, let's actually start a little bit further from the beginning, since we didn't get the full story the last time. So what helped you to get this new love for helping kids have success with math and
Hmm.
beyond?
So when I was young, I moved from my country, Sri Lanka, which was in war at that time when I was 6, to Canada, 6 years old. So of course, when we moved here, everything was different. We lost everything while moving to Canada. So coming to Canada, my dad turned into an alcoholic. So the family wasn't doing that great. And then at school, of course, I was very different from everybody else. So it was a racism as well. So I didn't know how to handle a lot of it. And my parents didn't speak that much English. So that didn't help me at all as well. So there was a lot of things that were happening on top of it. One of a trusted adult also hurt me, sexually. So that also took a turn. So I decided to end my life. At that time I wasn't doing well in school as well. So I decided to end my life and said that I can't take it anymore. Right. So that's what I did. But unfortunately or fortunately, now I look at it as all of those were my experiences to become who I am today. So I survived that. And when I did come back, I really recognized, or I really had the opportunity to discover how I was able to go through that decision to end my life. And I was able to make that decision so clearly. If I could spend like that in other things, I can probably solve other things in my life that I wasn't able to solve beforehand. So this was working with my mind and my stories and how I could rewrite some of the stories that I was telling myself, right? So that came to me. And on top of it, in math, I was sitting, in my classroom, there was a lot of posters. One of the posters was from Albert Einstein, which read that I'm not that smart, I just stay with my problems longer. So which also resonated with me, because at that time I was not staying with my problems long enough. I tried to end my life. So I just said, okay, if I don't have to be smart, I just have to do really try here, it will work for me. So that's what I did. I started trying with my problems, especially in math. I would sit for hours and try to reverse engineer some of the answers. And I finally figured some stuff out, and I started, this is not that bad. I can solve this. This actually makes sense. And then seeing that my teacher, before I would shy away from getting any help from them, they also noticed that I'm trying. They started helping me. And I started really picking up in math. It really became a therapy for me. So that's when I really fell in love with it. So when I really got to understand that math and started using as a therapy, I asked myself, why is math being taught so hard in school? Because it wasn't that hard when I figured stuff out. I'm figuring it out on my own. It's not that hard. It's easy. And it's actually really helpful to learn it that way. So that was why I said, you know what, I have to share what I have. I've been hacking in math with others. So what's the best profession to go into? Become a teacher. That's where I can share all this, right? So that's what I did. And I also started tutoring on the side at the time when I was in, university and stuff. But what I realized is that that's not what my students needed. When I got to that level, they needed more than just math hacks to learn math. They needed some guidance with their stories, like I had stories, the mind was not ready to receive information. So that's when I really had to go through myself, like, how do I actually get a child to listen to me of the stuff I have, which means I have to develop a relationship with these students. Then only will they accept me, and then only can I sell them my codes or math to them, and they want to learn. So that's when I started really focusing on crafting a methodology. That is my learning success coaching methodology that I have produced over the last 23 years. But in school, I couldn't do all of this because we have 23, sometimes 25 kids. We teach to the middle. I know 95% of my students are not getting it. I'm just doing it day after day blindly, and it wasn't satisfying me. I'm like, this is like I'm failing more than half of my students, and the paycheck is not that great. Why am I standing here doing this? So then I started focusing on my business and building my business from tutoring, because tutoring wasn't working either, because most of the students think tutors are there to do their homework, which is not what it's
Mm.
for. It's for me to help them learn and become independent, lifelong learners. So that didn't satisfy me. So I was always a person, if something doesn't work, you have to figure out what is the problem. How do I fix it? So that's why I landed on a meta learning de-stress method. It's based on brain science because I'm a big fan of talking to your brain, analyzing the stories you have, asking yourself, are they really true? When did you make these up? Why did you make these up? So I'm very interested in the mind and all of that from the beginning. So I included all of that, and I included neuro-linguistic into it, and I have developed a methodology right now. And since I met you, I launched a program to help teachers, because there's a lot of teachers, especially in the US, wanting to leave the profession. You've probably heard about not satisfied. As I said, there are so many things that makes you not satisfied about the job. One of them is not being able to help the child like you always wanted. That's a big deal for a teacher, because we don't go in there to say, I'm going to get rich. That you wouldn't
Mhm.
choose teaching to say, I'm going to become rich, let me go become a teacher. That's not easy. We go in to serve the students. We want to see the student go off and say, I'm doing really well because Mrs. S or Mrs. this or Mrs. that or Mr. this helped me, right? We want to be part of a success story, not a failure story. So there's a lot of teachers leaving. So in March 2022, this year, I had an opportunity to either hire teachers because my business was doing really well, my coaching business, or to empower them. So that's exactly what I did, is to empower them. So now I share my methodology with them that I crafted over the 23 years. Now these teachers can be in any subjects. So what they do is they become certified learning success coaches, and they work the way that I just described, which is relationship first, the child, holistically looking at the child first, and then the subject and the content comes always after. So that's the relationship that we build. And now we have over close to 50 plus teachers in that program who are certified, and some of them have left teaching and doing their business on their own and successfully serving their kids. So that's what I've been busy with since I met you. So that's kind of my story, big story, but there you go.
Oh, don't worry, we appreciate big stories here. It sounds like you've been doing some great, phenomenal work helping out your fellow human beings, especially teachers, and congrats on multiplying your efforts because I believe you yourself, you're able to help out. Well, I guess, at least according to an old bio, over 1,500 kids over past couple decades plus, and then it's like 50 teachers. There's no telling how many kids they're able to help now that you help them to give them the whole framework and get them certified and all that wonderful smooth jazz. That way they can continue to focus on helping out the kids. And I love the fact that you're all about the holistic child themselves, not like just the one subject here. Like, oh, it's not just the whole math thing. It's like the focusing on building a positive teacher student relationship, or tutor to T, if that's even a word, relationship. So that way the kid can actually have that growth mindset and they can overall become better as a result. So that's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness. So how was it like really drilling down and being able to put your methodology into like a certifiable framework, because I'm pretty sure you probably had to work a little bit backwards to put all that together for the other teachers.
Absolutely. So it was all, I mean, sometimes universe or God, whoever we believe, they always help you because when I started, I did it as a 3-day live event with the first of coaches, the teachers who joined us. And that helped me to, okay, you got these 23 years of experience. Now let's condense it into 3 days, and you got to teach it to them, and they need to go and repeat this successfully. How are you going to do it? So it was a challenge, but I took on the challenge and I put it together, and I went to, as you said, reverse engineering it. And, because I'm so in intuition with the child's success, it's about what does it need, what do they need to get the success for the student, right? That's the most important thing. And what do they need to learn from me that they don't know? And these are teachers, so they already are in the profession, they know most of a lot of other things, but what is it about my methodology that's going to give them that differentiation for them to give that success to their students? So that's a identity shift for them, because when they came in as a teacher, or they thought it was tutoring. So I had to really take them through a journey of, replacing their old stories and retraining their mind and taking on this new identity as a learning success coach. And what do they do and all of that stuff. So it was hard, but looking back at it, as you said, I have created, 50 plus multipliers that could go out and help so many different students. And I think that drive is so strong in me, because one of the things I do everything is for another student to not to do what I did when I was 13. The step I took to end my life. I want them to have a learning success coach by their side, so that they have someone there to guide them, not to choose something that's destructive in their life, right? So that's a big thing for me. So I have a mission right now collectively with all my coaches to serve 1.5 million students by 2035. So I guess that drives me to get it done. So any program, when you put it together, you always put it out, you just make it better every time you look at it. Okay, what's missing? Whenever you just get feedback, right, and make it better. So it has gone through almost 4 or 5 times I had made it better and better. So we're at the final stage of making it even more better, because the feedback helps from the people going through it, right?
Right indeed, right indeed. That's a big, huge goal right there indeed. 1.5 million kids, huh?
Hmm?
And by
Yes.
2035, you said?
Yes. Yes.
All right, there we go. She's gonna get it done. That's right indeed. You heard it here, folks, y'all. That's right indeed. You heard it here first. That's right indeed. 1.5 million kids. That's right indeed. They will turn Common Core into just core, and then that core will be their 6-pack abs growing up. That's right, boys and girls.
You can demystify any Common Core stuff. It's all about how you present it, right? It's all in the way it's presented. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're so right about that. It's so true. Funny enough, math wasn't really one of my strongest subjects growing up myself either. And then I went to college, and then like I had one professor where I actually probably, I think I only got 2 A's in math, one in elementary school, then one in college, because we had this one awesome professor who actually broke down so many problems down to the
Right.
core that made so much sense, where it's like, wow, this is freaking amazing. I don't actually know my math now. This is freaking good.
At a higher level. Impressive, right? You would think college would be harder than high school, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, wow, I can actually do this. Like, I can't believe it.
Absolutely. Presentation and who presented. And also, when a person presented without anxiety, if a person doesn't know their math and they're teaching you, their anxiety will kick in, especially in math, and then they won't teach the best way they can. They can't, because that's not in them. And not every teacher is made equally. And it just because they might know really well, but they might not know how to get the other person to do really well. Right? There's two different things. So you can be good at something and not be able to explain to another person because you're not understanding how that person thinks. Yeah.
Yeah. Amen to that. It's so true. It's so true indeed. So, my goodness, after stating that, you just triggered this question. So, with your NLP training, does that help you with any anxiety you may have had in the past when presenting to kids that you've probably conquered by now 10 times over?
Yeah, I worked like a lot of these modalities of coaching and stuff I took on, because I wanted to help myself, right? I wanted to see how my brain was functioning. I'm a big on testing and experimenting with stuff, right? So that definitely has helped me to relax, overcome. And it's all about how you tell yourself. You can tell yourself, I'm nervous and I'm nervous and nervous and be nervous. Or you can say, I'm not nervous and I'm not nervous and calm yourself down. Both is in our hands and in our head. It's how we talk and how we phrase the stuff. So that's why my methodology is called de-stress method, because when a child is stressed about anything, they can't learn. They absolutely cannot learn. So when a child is stressed and we stuff information into them, they are going to reject, and that rejection will come in the form of behaviors. Then we say, why are you behaving like this? And when we have consequence for that, but they're not ready to accept the content. There's something else happening. So that understanding and connecting with that child at that level, at that frequency of where they are, is so important for learning. And, we always teach what to learn, but we have not been taught how to learn or how our brain works. So these are two big things that is not in our education yet.
Yeah.
So our focus as a learning success coach is that. And start with the brain. If you're going to use this, you need to know how this works, and you need to know how to operate this. If you don't know how to operate it, it's going to do its own thing.
That's right, indeed. You can say she learned how to drive stick, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because, hey, you're so right about the stress thing, too, especially. And not even just the pandemic. I'm sure before the pandemic, 10x everything else, like depending on where the kids come from, where they grow up, they may have stress in the household already, and they're bringing that with them to class. And it's like you're trying to fill them up. It's I guess in a way is a bad example. It's like a it's like a fat guy at a Chinese buffet or an all you can eat buffet trying to stuff his face after being in the restaurant for 12 hours already, eating all day. It's like you can't stick any more in them.
No, absolutely not. And then that's why it will reject. Your body will reject, right? It's what kids do. They are rejecting. And I have another analogy I used to. It's like, as teachers, we sell information to our students. We are selling, right? So they have to buy it. Right now, we're selling information to our students in the classroom, and the students are like, I don't want to buy this. This is not what I need. You're selling me something is not useful. So they're rejecting the product that I'm trying to sell it to them, and they're like, I don't want this. So what does a store owner do when the market is telling him or her the product is not what I want? They have to immediately shift their focus and change the merchandise so that their buyers will be happy. So we, in the education system, we have students who are not buying it, and we're still pushing the same thing that is outdated. And since COVID, especially, kids know that there's a better way or different way to learn. Now, why do I have to go back to classroom again? Why can't I do the way I did before? It's successful or not is not the question. They just have these questions that people are not answering them, right? That makes it harder for a teacher as well in the classroom.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And you're so right. It's so true. It's kind of goes to the point like, hey, everybody's really a salesman, and teachers definitely probably top sales folks of all time and probably top entertainers of all time because in a way, especially in a classroom, you're not really educating, you're really edutaining because in a way you gotta not only sell it to them, you gotta be at least able to convey the proper message depending on the situation. So my goodness, what has been probably been the biggest struggle that you've been able to help coach your coaches through when it comes to helping kids succeed? Because you're so right, with the old school way of doing things, kids are really not buying it now that everything is basically a tap or two away. And they see all these content creators out there and like, oh yeah, I ain't gonna need to know math. Like if I know A plus freaking B, I think I'll be bad, but I know 2 plus 2, I can be a YouTube creator and be a success.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I think the most important thing or struggle that I had to almost reprogram or, get the teachers away from is their closeness or their bond with curriculums, because they're coming
Mm,
out of a school system that almost dictate what teachers can do and cannot do and how fast they need to do and how much they need to do for the testing that's going to come at the end of all of this, right? Because there's these state testing that comes at the end. So because they're so connected to that, to give them a model where you're customizing to that child's needs, you look at the child as an individual and you don't have to worry about anybody else telling you. Just pay attention to that child and what do they need and then build a program for them. For them, that was like, a lot of them love it, but then they always have this, what about the curriculum, because they've been traumatized by it in a way. A lot of the teachers are traumatized by the system themselves as well. So getting away from that, every child is different, because we only got them into a school system for money purpose, right? Because we can't teach every child differently. We have to collect them and teach them in a community of students, so it saves money. That's it. It wasn't done for anything else, and we need workers. We go further back in history, so the workers needed to repeatedly do the same thing. But we now have a different generation of kids want to do different things, and the world is changing, and the work that we have now might not be here in the future, so we need to train them for what's coming up to in the future as well. So education system is overdue for a change.
definitely due for a change indeed. And it kind of makes sense too, that bond with the curriculum, especially those who've been teaching for probably for such a long time, because they're like, man, I can't stray too far away from this because they're responsible for this and they gotta test a certain way so I can keep my job and maybe get a bonus if I'm lucky. And because if they don't test well, then I'm gonna be freaking screwed out of a job. So it's like, yep, that makes total sense indeed. And just being able to have the courage to be more creative and be able to really teach for the kid as opposed to trying to sell them on, hey, go ahead and do this two wheelie right here. Sorry, get you on a bike as opposed to an actual motorbike.
Exactly. Yes.
That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, since you've been on a few podcasts in recent history of promoting like good work that you're doing for the teachers and the kids, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're on these podcasts?
Yes, if you're a parent watching this, I wish they would ask what's the difference between a tutor and a learning success coach, right? Because everybody's tutoring is, that's what's known. Learning success coach is something that I started, and I started for the purpose of looking at a child in a holistic way and looking at each child as an individual. I'm not going to put them as a group of person and start teaching, right? I want to look at them as one person at a time. And I wish they would ask that. And to answer that question, what is the difference? So the biggest difference is tutoring is for immediate help. Your child struggles, you say, I need to get someone to help him with this. So when a tutor comes, you're hiring them on an hourly basis. They come and solve the problem in the immediate, whatever is happening right now. Let's help you understand this and let me help you work through this. But the next time the child is presented with that problem, they haven't gone deep enough with that explanation or the intervention for that child to handle that on their own next time. They're going to be like, I'm stuck again. I need somebody to help me. Because they didn't learn how to do it. They didn't learn why they were doing that and what it was involved in it. They just got someone explain it, and usually given the solution for it, it doesn't matter, math or English or any subject, someone showing you versus someone allowing you to discover how to solve something. That's a totally different thing, right? So when a tutor does that over time, the child or a person, whoever is taking that help, is going to become very dependent on that service. So you're going to create dependency. So we can't have a student depending on someone else for their knowledge, because then rest of their time they're going to be falling behind in their own understanding, right? So we have to have the foundation strong. So as a learning success coach, we don't work on what's happening here. We research on why can they do this, and usually that's related to something they're missing in their foundation or how they're feeling, because we look at the whole child, right? They're not ready to learn. Somebody has given them something. They have to do it. They're going through something else that doesn't relate to this project or math or whatever is in front of them. So that's a big difference. Big, huge difference. That's one of the differences, many out there, but that's a question I wish people would ask.
Hey, definitely true indeed. And you're so right about basically the difference. And I'm glad you made that distinction because it's an important distinction because, yeah, tutors, after a while, it's great to have them. It's great to have 'em, but it's like, yeah, you create that dependency and the way the traditional school system is set up. It's like, oh, yeah, before the test, you can have as many partners to help you out as possible. You can get a tutor, you can make a study buddy group, but come time for that test, you got to be on your own, buddy. And it's like with that success coach, if they help you to develop that holistic mindset, they'll be able to go out on their own. It's like you're basically teaching them the fish as opposed to the tutoring, the traditional tutors who probably just give them the fish, or should I say the extra fish.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really important, especially now after COVID. And this is something else I also want to parents to know, is that we went onto a lockdown. We did all these changes. We came back in. We went back into these classrooms, or some people are online, and we just immediately thought everything was okay with our kids.
Mm.
They're not. They're little people. They don't understand what just happened over the last 3 years. They don't. Nobody is addressing it. They're emotionally don't understand what just happened. Socially, they don't know what just happened. And we expect them to just go, yeah, just shift your placement now, go to school and now start learning. And by the way, you're now in 3 years higher level than when COVID happened. So it's fine. You just catch up, move on, get to university. I'm working with university kids who have been through the COVID stages. Right now they're in university. They're failing like crazy because they didn't learn a lot of stuff they're supposed to learn in their grade 10, grade 11, grade 12 years. They're failing miserably over here in university, and they're paying for it. No one is addressing this, and that is very sad for the students. This is a big gap, right? So hiring a tutor in the mix of this is going to even cause chaos in that child's life, right? It's not for tutors can't do it. They're not trained for that. They can help, but what about the 3 years that was missed? So that's disappointing. That has not been brought up. I don't know if you heard about it in anything. People talk about it here and there, but we're not doing anything about it in the education system.
Hey, that's a valid point to bring up because that's something I never even considered or even thought about. And to be honest, I haven't even really heard about it too, because at the end of the day, it's like when you think about the high school kids, especially those who, especially in the areas where they did more stringent lockdowns. I know in the parts of Canada and Australia, they had those really strict lockdowns where they didn't let anybody out for too long. It's like being stuck in for 2 and 3 years. Yeah, it's like 2 to 3 years of lost progress and the usual normal social interaction. And then going to college and paying for it probably even twice as much now since inflation is crazy now on top of it. And for colleges, we're going to go up regardless anyway, but still on top of that, it's like, okay, now you're paying for an even more expensive, I guess, in a way, mistake as opposed to really taking a gap year and making sure your foundation is right. Because even before the pandemic, depending on where you went to school, I know public school system tends to fail a lot of folks when they go to university, and it's like with those who went through the COVID stage and then went to college, I'm sure they're probably even worse off, like you mentioned before, because it's like, oh, online learning. Yeah, we hope you got it. It's like,
And
good luck.
they don't have proper study skills. They don't have proper social skills anymore, because 3 years can do a lot of damage. It's a lot of time for growing people to be away from other people, right? So yeah, I wish that could be addressed more and more. And then kids don't talk about it because it's not cool, right? Obviously, they're not going to come out, they want to be cool. They're like, I'm okay, I'm fine. But at the beginning of the program, I said to you, like 3 of our friends lost their kids to overdosing on drugs because they're not happy. They took the wrong way to cure their sadness or whatever, depression or something, right? There's a lot of kids like that. And we're going to see this 3-year lockdown effect very soon. So I want parents listening to like really talk to them about it, look at them and where they're struggling. Even my son, he's 15, he would never come and say, yeah, COVID really, emotionally or socially did something to me. He won't say it because it's not cool to say it, especially if you're a teenager. It's all
Yeah.
good. Asking is all good, Mom. And don't talk to me more.
Yeah, it's true. Especially with that growing pain. It's like, oh yeah, mom, whatever. Yeah, yeah. They stop listening. Like, up, zombie apocalypse mode, smartphone, game system, TV. Yep, that's right. And then social media on top of that. It's like, all right, everything's 10x. It's like, oh God.
Yes. One thing I hoped after COVID was to decrease the standards that they had to enter into. I thought they would decrease the standards of college and university for these kids who actually was caught in that time frame. But that didn't happen either. The standards of universities and college always goes up. And the standards of, elementary and high school always go down. So there's a big gap between post-secondary. Before COVID too, but now it's even further.
Yeah, it's freaking insane. It's like, oh God, really? Like, come on. It's like, I thought we're supposed to equip the kids. It's like we're not even equipping them anymore. It's like giving them not even a knife to a gunfight. It's like giving them a slingshot to a gunfight. And the slingshot is plastic out of a darn Lego box.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Equipment is correct.
Yeah. But hey, the good news is, even though it can be a dark path that we are trying to add some light to, we do have this marvelous book of yours, Escape the Tutoring Trap. So, my goodness, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
I think that was written for teachers and tutors to understand. I'm trying to change the way we actually help students. That's why I wrote that book. But I have a book coming out for parents about, it's going to be coming out in March or maybe April, close to that. That would be more directed to the parents and what's happening, the stuff that I'm talking about now and how a parent can help them. And because of that book, I also, because of what's happening to a lot of kids, I think parents need help right now in order to have these conversations at home with their kids and how to do them. I'm going to start a master class on Wednesday every week, starting next week, starting in January. It's a free master class, just sharing what I'm sharing with you, these information, because I'm a suicide survivor myself. My mission has always been that children should not have to take that decision. If we provide them everything, they don't have to take that decision. And that's one of my biggest mission, is to be there, help them, as many kids as possible, and help parents, because the parents nowadays are parenting kids in a different era than when you and I grew up. There are a lot of young parents who don't even know, who have different problems that our mom and dad didn't even have those problems when they were raising us. So a lot of the time we would look at our parents to ask for some advice. How would you handle this? Or ask some older person to get some idea. How would I handle my son like he's doing this? But right now you can't even ask them because those are not problems they handled. They don't know about these problems that are happening to the parents now. And the teenagers are now, they don't have that problem. So there's a lot of help needs to be come towards that. So that's my biggest mission this year, is to share that with parents, bring in experts in the field of emotional, social balance at home, at school. As I said to you, I see a big gap in that. My students are struggling. I work still with, with math with my students still. Even though I work with teachers, there's a lot going on with a lot of them. They need help.
Yeah, definitely. That's right, indeed. That's right, Dave. Definitely gonna highlight those in the show notes, link to those wonderful workshops to help out the parents as well as the kids. So, my goodness, any idea what the name of that book coming out this spring is gonna be, or is that still a work in progress?
It's still in work in progress, but my company that I'm starting is called Fearless Learners. So I want to have our learning success coach help students and any child to become a fearless learner. So that's something in that area, maybe fearless learners, but I haven't fully decided yet on a name. But it's in.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. There you go, fearless learners. There you go. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Kohila and the team and all the certified folks. That's right, those success learning coaches. They're gonna help your kids succeed. That's right, indeed. They will have their full suit of armor. That's right, indeed. They will not be like that meme where the arrow goes in between the helmet. Nope, she's got the helmet so that way it completely protects the head for the kids, y'all. That's right.
And also now these learning success coaches can work with any subjects. Like it's not just math. Earlier we were talking about math. I started with math, but the learning success coaches are not math coaches. They are learning success coaches. So they can help with any type of learning that a child needs.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. That's right. She can fix your country grammar, y'all. That's right. That's right indeed. It ain't math no more, y'all. It's math and everything else. That's right indeed. From country grammar all the way to science indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right. Cropping up the next Neil deGrasse Tyson's. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is if you all wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2023. Oh, what advice would you give to yourself?
You know what? At that time, 25, I think I was very scared to share what I had because there's a lot of doubts that I was thinking. I wish I had shared what I had earlier because a lot of us have superpower. We all have superpower. We're all born with superpower. Every one of us has it. But we don't think it's a big deal because it's always there with us. So I think I would tell my 25-year-old that they could have made what they had a bit bigger deal. Even MathCodes, all the hacks that I have, hacked and all the codes that I have discovered in math. There's no other program out there that could teach math as simple as I could teach it to someone. And it's so enjoyable and it's therapeutic. But as a 25-year-old, I don't think it was that big of a deal. It's just another way to do it. So share it. If you got a superpower, I would tell her to share it. Don't worry about anyone judging you. Yeah, that was a big word. She was always afraid of judgment, but she no longer is.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right. She can strut her knowledge now, y'all. That's right. That Kohila strutting that knowledge now, indeed. That's right, indeed. Big brains are where it's at. That's right, indeed. Especially when they got confidence behind them. That's right, indeed. So don't be afraid to toot that horn. That's right, and share that wonderful skill with others. That's right, indeed. Who would have thought math could be therapeutic? It's like, shit, if I heard that mess 20 years ago, I'd be like, man, you crazy. Math, therapeutic? Man, making my brain explode. My goodness, equations, man, how's that therapeutic? It's like, nah, she can help it be therapeutic. So it's like, oh man, you're basically giving your brain a foot massage with this math. That's right, indeed. That's how good it is, y'all. That's right, indeed. So for those who need to keep in contact with you and heck, maybe even learn more about the certification program, if there may be some teachers listening, what's the best way for folks to keep in contact with you?
So our website is for teachers. We have learningsuccesscoaches.com. So just one word, learningsuccesscoaches.com. That's for teachers. And if parents are listening and they want to attend the masterclass, fearlesslearners.com. So just fearlesslearners.com is where you can sign up, and the masterclass is starting next week. So as the masterclass progresses, I'm going to take feedback from the attendees, whatever situation they're in, whatever problems they're going through. It's going to be free information for you to help your child in any way possible. And the mission is to, not have any child choose anything that they shouldn't be choosing, some destructive ideas. That is the mission behind my thing. And this is what I want to do. So it's a big, big release for me. Because I do believe that I have a chance. I got a second chance for a reason.
That's right. That's why me and thousands of others are glad you're still here. That's right, indeed. Still here, still fabulous, and still helping others to be fabulous too. Y'all love to see it. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. She's got a cape on, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right. You think it's a bird or a plane or Superman? Nah, it's Kohila, baby. That's right, indeed. With that fearless learning. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. It ain't an S on the chest. It's an F and an L for fearless learning. That's right, indeed. So you heard that right, folks. So check out all the wonderful workshops. Check out the books, indeed, if you're parent or heck, even a student. That's right, indeed. She's got you covered like a blanket. Maybe 3 blankets for the winter. So any parting words before we close up shop?
Any problem that we face, like, I remember I told you that quote that I read that helped me a lot in my life was that it's not that that I have to be so smart. It's just that I stay with my problems longer. I took that to my heart, and I figured out a lot of stuff. So if you're going through anything hard right now, everything is solvable. Everything. You just have to figure out how to solve that. And that's where math really helps. Like, everyone asks me, why do I have to learn this? I always tell them, you're training your brain not to panic about a problem, and you're systematically solving it. That every time you solve problems like that in real life, when another problem comes in, you will have that ability to solve the problem. That's why it's therapeutic as well, because you're no longer afraid of a problem. You are, okay, what do I need to solve this? What are the things I have to look at it? How can I solve this? So you look at it at different angles and you find the answer. So everything is solvable. So there's nothing in the world that cannot be solved. Just listen to what your mind is saying, and it is solvable. So that's what I always say. Everything in life is solvable.
If you're listening to this, that means you're one cool individual. If you want to be cooler than 2 cucumbers, share this episode with someone that you think will enjoy it too. And be sure to subscribe and keep being fabulous.